Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, we're going to be talking about the hill Cumorah, specifically about a cave in the hill Cumorah. We all know that when Joseph Smith was given the gold plates, he was led to a stone box that was covered with a rock in the hill Cumorah, and that's where he got the gold plates. But apparently, there's also a cave that's in that hill, and it's talked about in the Journal of Discourses. And I want to say that I've heard about this before. I'm not sure. It kind of rings a bell, but this came to my attention today because of an email that Gina Stevens sent. I'm going to read the second one because the first one she sent back in March. She says, "Hey Jared, you said to resend if you haven't gotten our emails yet. Yes, please do. I don't mind. Just keep in mind though, I have a total of 1,581 emails in my inbox currently, and 994 that have not been opened. So it's really extremely difficult to get to them all. I have to just use my best judgment in which ones to read, and it's hard. Believe me, it's hard. But yeah, feel free to resend." Okay, so she said, "So I'm resending this. I found this awesome video I thought I'd share with you. I found it very interesting. The room in the hill Cumorah has apparently been found. Here's a link to video, and the other link has actual photos of the hole. Thanks for sharing. Keep up the good work." All right, well, thank you, Gina. So, what she sent me was a YouTube link and then also a link to this blog for Book of Mormon evidence. I'm not going to go through what they said because it's their blog. But so I'll let you read that on your own. But what I will do is I'm going to go through the references that they have here to the Journal of Discourses and read. Today, I'm going to go over what Brigham Young said, and it's incredibly detailed. And I had no knowledge of this before today. Like a running thing on this channel is like I never know what else is out there that I don't know about. All these like little bits of information that are tucked away in different places. How much more is there? I don't know, but here's the next one. Well, before we get into that, here's the update on the Book of Mormon sharing challenge. Uh, you see that I have one more missionaries and one more baptisms, or one more baptism. Uh, I'm not going to color code that until I can confirm that because I have a question about that with who reported it. But hopefully that's correct. We are now at 555 people that have shared the Book of Mormon. So please keep that up. Please join if you haven't already. The reason why, it's not for your credit or anybody's credit, it's to help other people want to join and to share copies of the Book of Mormon that they otherwise may not have. We've had a lot of copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared lately, and we've jumped all the way up to 5,704 at this point. So now we're starting to close in on 6,000, which is great. Okay, now on this channel, I don't only cover Second Coming stuff. That is like the bulk of what I cover, as you know. But I do like to get into these other topics, finding these little gems, like I just said. I have a playlist called The Three Nephites in John. I haven't done one of those videos in a while, but if you're new to the channel, you might want to check these out. I'll put the link for it in the description below. As far as this Hill Cumorah thing, I've decided to make a new row on my quotes A through Z spreadsheet for anything I find out about the Hill Cumorah, because there's at least a couple quotes in the Journal of Discourses about it that give some detail. So once after this video, what we're about to read, I'll figure out exactly what I'm going to put in here. And if you want to revisit it, you can come here or just go directly to the Journal of Discourses. I have a bunch of other things. If you ever come on here using the link in the description box of any given video, if you have anything to add on here, by all means, please send it. I want to try and consolidate just everything that I possibly can into this spreadsheet. So, for example, if you have any good quotes or stories, well, I'm looking mostly for quotes. Any quotes about the weather, like maybe a temple was dedicated and it was noted that the rain stopped or something like that, send it my way. If you have any like pretty explicit comments or statements about the apostles or the prophet having witnessed Christ, like actually, like they're basically telling you, no, really, I've face to face witnessed Christ, you can send that my way. So I have a couple new ones here, but I'll save that for a future video. Okay, so without further ado, let's go to the Journal of Discourses. So this is volume 9, starting on page 36, and this is Brigham Young giving a discourse, uh, special conference held at Farmington. So that's in Utah. That's where Lagoon is. It's a theme park that I miss very much. And I'm going to start at the top, even though what we're looking at and focusing on doesn't come for a couple paragraphs later. I feel like it's important to have the context of what he's saying and why he brings this up. I'm not sure how far we're going to go. I'm just going to kind of feel that out, but I've read like a couple of the main paragraphs and it's really good. So, okay, Brigham Young. I esteem it a privilege to meet with the Latter-day Saints. I visited Farmington many times, and I can say that, as a general thing in attending your meetings, I have felt much of the peace and blessings that flow from heaven to this people. I have no doubt that the majority of the people called Latter-day Saints desire really to be saints. Were it not for this, I might feel partially discouraged. The people who are honest, who are seeking to know and to understand the truth, they are the ones who, so far as their faith and good works and their influence and ability are concerned, sustain the kingdom that God has commenced to establish on the earth. He's basically talking about wheat and tares right there, the ones that are true and the ones that are not. And the ones that are true, they sustain the kingdom on earth. When we consider the condition of the Latter-day Saints and see how many there are who seem to have their eyes fixed upon the things of this world, things that are not lasting, but that perish in the handling, and how anxious they are to obtain them, how do you think I feel about it? We see many of the elders of Israel desirous of becoming wealthy. They adopt any course that they think will bring them riches, which to me is as unwise as anything can be. To see men of wisdom, men that seem to have an understanding of the world and of the things of God, searching after minerals through these mountains. They traverse the hills and they dig here and there and keep digging and picking and rolling the rocks from morning till night. This chain of mountains has been followed from north to south, and its various spurs have been prospected. And what do they find? Just enough to allure them and to finally lead them from the faith, as at last to make them miserable and poor. I love this talk so far. You know how I feel about this. I feel like there's like like a spiritual epidemic in our church when it comes to wealth. And there's probably different reasons for that. One thing is that we are counseled to get an education, to go to college, right? That's the ideal for anybody. And yeah, you should do that. But I think sometimes the people that are more worldly minded, they kind of focus mostly just on the benefits, like the financial benefits of obtaining an education, and it gets to the point where that becomes their religion. They tell their kids, you know what, you need to go to college. You need to make sure you make lots of money so you can afford a house and have a pool and live in a nice neighborhood and da 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 da. And that's where it gets kind of murky. Now, I think that we should all yeah, try and live comfortably, but there's people that make that their main goal in life. You know, I think we should all try to improve our situation. Be more comfortable, have more of the comforts of life. But um, some people, that is their life essentially. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. Okay, ask the brethren why they do this, and the ready reply will be, is it not my privilege to find a gold mine or a silver mine as well as others? As far as I'm concerned, I would say yes, certainly it is your privilege if you can find one, but do you know how to find such a mine? Such a mine? No, you do not. These treasures that are in the earth are carefully watched. They can be removed from place to place according to the good pleasure of him who made them and owns them. That's an interesting statement, don't you think? Like, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but in the Book of Mormon, we hear about this concept of slippery treasures, essentially, and how there was a point. I'd have to go back and read. It's been such a long time since I've read this part, but how essentially the Nephites, as they became wicked, they were having a problem with their treasures leaving them and going other places, like becoming slippery. And I always thought that that was very interesting. And who knows? Look what he's saying here. He's saying that the things in the earth, the treasures that are in the earth, are carefully watched by God. It just like goes to my point, I think, that not only this earth, but the moon, the planets, things in nature, I think there's like so much more going on than what we realize and what we're able to detect. And I'm sure that we'll realize why uh, at a future time in the millennium. So these treasures that are in the earth are carefully watched. They can be removed from place to place according to the good pleasure of him who made them and owns them. He has his messengers at his service, and it is just as easy for an angel to remove the minerals from any part of one of these mountains to another as it is for you and me to walk up and down this hall. This, however, is not understood by the Christian world nor by us as a people. There are certain circumstances that a number of my brethren and sisters have heard me relate that will demonstrate this so positively that none need doubt the truth of what I say. I presume there are some present who have heard me narrate a circumstance with regard to the discovery of a gold mine in Little Cottonwood Canyon, and I will here say that the specimens taken from it, which I have in my possession today, are as fine specimens of gold as ever were found on this continent. A man whom some of you will well know brought to me a most beautiful nugget. I told him to let the mine alone. When General Connor came here, he did considerable prospecting, and in hunting through the cottonwoods, he had an inkling that there was gold there. Porter, as we generally call him, came to me one day. Maybe that Porter Rockwell or what's his name? Porter, isn't it Porter? Yeah, Porter Rockwell. He was a famous for being like a bodyguard to the prophet Joseph Smith, I think. Okay, Rockwell served as a bodyguard and was a personal friend of Latter-day Saint movement founder Joseph Smith. After Smith's death in 1844, Rockwell became a bodyguard of his successor, Brigham Young, and traveled with him and members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to Salt Lake Valley in the present-day U.S. state of Utah. And he is a pretty intense-looking guy. I wouldn't want to mess with him personally. Like, look at those eyes. Okay. Anyway, there's a lot of people that are big fans of Porter Rockwell. Anyway, I think this is probably who he's referring to. So Porter, as we generally call him, came to me one day saying, "They have struck within 4 inches of my load. What do I do? Or what shall I do?" He was carried away with the idea that he must do something. I therefore told him to go with the other brethren interested and make his claim. When he got through talking, I said to him, "Porter, you ought to know better. You have seen and heard things which I have not, and are a man of long experience in this church. I can tell you one thing. They may strike within 4 inches of that load as many times as they have a mind to, and they will not find it." They hunted and hunted, hundreds of them did, and I had the pleasure of laughing at him a little, for when he went there again, he could not find it himself. And then in parentheses, laughter. Sometimes I take the liberty of talking a little further with regard to such things. Uh, Orrin P. Rockwell. Oh, maybe is that like his first name? Oh, yeah, it says right here. Look, Orrin Porter Rockwell. So his first name is Orrin, but I guess he went by Porter. Okay, so that is who he's talking about. Sometimes I take the liberty of talking a little further with regard to such things. Orton P. Rockwell is an eyewitness to some powers of removing the treasures of the earth. Uh, he was with certain parties that lived nearby where the plates were found that contained the records of the Book of Mormon. There were a great many treasures hid up by the Nephites. That's interesting. This is something, by the way, that my dad was into before he passed away. If any of you know, like Wayne May, Terry Carter, people like that, my dad was like part of that group. I never really got into it myself, but there were some like interesting things. It wasn't really my thing or my niche, but anyway, um, there were a great many treasures hid up by the Nephites. Porter was with them one night where there were treasures, and they could find them easy enough, but they could not obtain them. I will tell you a story which will be marvelous to most of you. It was told to me by Porter, whom I would believe just as quickly as any man that lives. When he tells a thing he understands, he will tell it just as he knows it. He is a man that does not lie. He said that on this night, when they were engaged hunting for this old treasure, they drug around the end of a chest for some 20 inches. The chest was about 3 feet square. One man was determined to have the contents of that chest, took his pick and struck into the lid of it and split through into the chest. The blow took off a piece of the lid, which a certain laddie, laddie, oh my gosh, which a certain lady kept in her possession until she died. That chest of money went into the bank. Porter describes it so, making a rumbling sound. He says this is just as true as the heavens are. I've heard others tell the same story. I relate this because it is marvelous to you, but to those who understand these things, it is not marvelous. So what happened? Okay, so okay. Okay. They were engaged hunting for this old treasure. They dug around the end of a chest for some 20 inches. The chest was about 3 feet square. One man who was determined to have the contents of that chest took his pick and struck into the lid of it and split through the chest. The blow took off a piece of the lid, which a certain lady kept in her possession until she died. Okay, so she kept that piece. Okay, that chest of money went into the bank. Porter describes it so, making a rumbling sound. He says this is just as true as the heavens are. So like what? The rumbling sound? I don't understand. The rumbling sound? Is that I don't understand. Um you hear a great deal said about finding money. There's no difficulty at all in finding money, but there are a great many people who do not know what to do with it when they find it. This is the great defect with the human family. I could relate many very singular circumstances. I live right in the country where the plates were found, or I lived right in the country where the plates were found from which the Book of Mormon was translated, and I know a great many things pertaining to that country. I believe I will take the liberty to tell you of another circumstance that will be as marvelous as anything can be. This is an incident in the life of Oliver Cowdery, but he did not take the liberty of telling such things in meetings as I take. See, at any given point in the church, there's certain general authorities that like to drop hints and like let things slip, and other ones that don't. I tell these things to you, and I have a motive for doing so. I want to carry them to the ears of my brethren and sisters, and to the children also, that they may grow to an understanding of some things that seem to be entirely hidden from the human family. Oliver Cowdery went with the prophet Joseph Smith when he deposited these plates. Joseph Smith did not translate all of the plates. There was a portion of them sealed, which you can learn from the Book of Doctrine and Covenants. When Joseph got the plates, the angel instructed him to carry them back to the hill Cumorah, which he did. Oliver says that when Joseph and Oliver went there, the hill opened and they walked into a cave. Look at that. The hill opened and they walked into a cave in which there was a large, spacious room. This is something I didn't know about. This is the first time that I'm like hearing this, you guys. Maybe for some of you too. If you already knew this story, put it in the comments. If you didn't know this story, then put that in the comments too. Um, he says he did not think at the time whether they had the light of the sun or artificial light, but that it was just as light as day. That is really interesting. A little bit creepy, but it's God, so I guess not. But they laid the plates on a table. Wouldn't it be well? Yeah, I wish I could see what kind of lighting that was. If it would be like similar to like artificial lighting to what we have now, or if it was some kind of like heavenly light. They laid the plates on a table. It was a large table that stood in the room. Under this table, there was a pile of plates as much as 2 feet high. Under the table, a pile of plates. And there were altogether in this room more plates than probably any wagon loads, than many. Okay. In this room, more plates than probably many wagon loads. They were piled up in the corners and along the walls. The first time they went there, the sword of Laban hung upon the wall. But when they went again, it had been taken down and laid upon the table across the gold plates. It was unsheathed, and on it was written these words, quote, "This sword will never be sheathed again until the kingdoms of this world become the kingdom of our God and his Christ." That is a very, very interesting thing. I tell you this as coming not only from Oliver Cowdery, but others who were familiar with it and who understood it just as well as we understand coming to this meeting, enjoying the day, and by we separate and go away, forgetting most of what is said, but remembering some things. So it is with other circumstances in life. I relate this to you, and I want you to understand it. I take this liberty of referring to those things so that they will not be forgotten and lost. Carlos Smith was a young man of as much veracity as any young man we had, and he was a witness to these things. Samuel Smith saw some things, Hiram saw a good many things, but Joseph was the leader. Now, you may think I am unwise in publicly telling these things, thinking perhaps I should preserve them in my own breast, but such is not my mind. I would like the people called Latter day Saints to understand some little things with regard to the workings and dealings of the Lord with his people here upon the earth. I could relate to you a great many more, all of which are familiar to many of our brethren and sisters. Okay. Um, this is so interesting. So you can come here. I don't know if what they found here in this blog, the story in this blog, if it is the cave. You can go check this out. I'm going to check this out later. I didn't read the whole thing, but that's interesting. And the thing about it is, again, if you were to go to the hill Cumorah right now, and you were to go to this hole, to this cave, you may not see anything, but who's to say that you would be able to see with your natural eyes those things? The Lord may hide things, to where you with your physical body, you can't just go and look and handle it or pick it up. And I say that because we know that translated beings, they're physical beings. They're not spirits, but it seems like their default mode is to be hidden in some kind of way. And just like it says in the Book of Mormon, the three Nephites have to pray to the Father in order for them to show themselves. So it's like their default state is hidden. And why couldn't that be the same thing as some of these other things? Why not? Maybe that's the case. But I'm glad that Brigham Young shared this with us. I find it pretty amazing. I'm going to end right here because this is kind of a good stopping point. I'm going to read through the rest of this and see if there's anything else that I would want to share in a video. But if you want to read the whole thing, either way, I'll put this in the description below so you can come here and read this. And this isn't the only one. here on this blog, they have, okay, the one that we just read from Brigham Young. There's one from Orson Pratt in the Millennial Star. Let's see. Oh, here's some other things. Okay. Edward Stevenson reminisces of Joseph Smith. David Whitmer, Deseret Evening News. And then, of course, maybe there's more that I'd be able to find if I searched for it. This is I think this is cool. If you think that this is like worthwhile finding out more, then let me know, and I'll put more effort into it. That's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.